Shocking news shakes the entertainment industry. Malcolm-Jamal Warner, 54. The star who made millions of viewers fall in love with The Cosby Show suddenly passed away in Costa Rica in what is believed to be a drowning accident. A sudden loss. But before the grief could subside, a name suddenly appeared to reveal shocking information: Dave Chappelle. After a long period of silence, the legendary comedian reappeared and made an assertion that sent shivers down Hollywood's spine. Malcolm didn't just die from drowning, he was dealt with for refusing to sell his soul. One sentence is enough to destroy all theories of normal accident. It ignites a series of suspicions about a deadly secret agreement in the dark of the entertainment industry. This story is not just about Malcolm. It also brings back dark memories of Dave Chappelle himself, when he was also faced with the offer to sell his soul. Dave was even forced to flee to another continent to save his life. So, what was the deal Malcolm refused? Why did a simple no cost him his life, and who was really behind it? Costa Rica tragedy, horrific accident or evil conspiracy. July 20th, 2025, around 2:10 p.m., Playa Grande Cahuita, a picturesque beach in the province of Limón, Costa Rica. Malcolm-Jamal Warner was enjoying a vacation with his family. The blue sea, the gentle waves, everything seemed like a perfect picture, until it turned into a nightmare. Malcolm and another man headed out to swim. But within minutes, a fierce rip current appeared, swallowing them both like a giant hand, pulling them to the bottom of the ocean. Malcolm's 8-year-old daughter was still near the shore, watching everything in panic. People around, including a surfer, immediately rushed out. They managed to bring the girl to safety, saving the man in critical condition. But Malcolm was different. He was swept away, tossed about by the high waves, and then completely submerged in the cold water. When they pulled him to shore, he was unconscious. The Costa Rican Red Cross and the people at the scene fought for 45 minutes. They did everything: chest compressions, mouth-to-mouth resuscitation, artificial respiration. But all was in vain. At 2:55 p.m., they were forced to declare Malcolm was gone. July 21st, 2025. Costa Rica's Judicial Investigation Agency, OIJ, confirms the cause of death as asphyxia by submersion. They say all victims, Warner and his friend, were brought to shore before rescuers arrived. The incident was quickly framed by the media as a drowning accident. But a series of details raised public suspicions. No lifeguards were on duty at the beach, despite the area being notoriously dangerous because of undercurrents. Who was the man who swam with Malcolm? Why was he more easily rescued? Numbers and creepy coincidences. Back when Malcolm-Jamal Warner landed in Costa Rica, TMZ got exclusive footage of him getting out of his car, smiling broadly, his eyes sparkling with excitement for the holiday. He looked like he was just waiting for days of sunbathing, laughing, and then heading home to his family. No one expected that a few days later, the Paradise Beach would be the place where he would leave this world. The mystery of numbers that don't lie, or a joke of fate, Malcolm died at the age of 54. And if you believe in gematria or numerology, 5 + 4 = 9. The number 9, according to many, symbolizes completion of the cycle. Coincidentally, The Cosby Show, the show that made Malcolm a star, also comes out to 54 in gematria. The day of his death, July 20th, happened to be the 201st day of the year, and The Cosby Show had exactly 201 episodes. The coincidence was like a mysterious milestone marked long in advance. Many also associate the number 201 with Event 201, a COVID pandemic drill held in October 2019, just before the actual pandemic hit. For those who believe in the matrix of global events, this is no coincidence. Strange enough, mention the number 9 in 2011, and another name pops up: Ozzy Osbourne. Just weeks before his death, he performed his final concert, Back to the Beginning, as if in a secret prophecy. The venue held 45,000 people, so 4 + 5 = 9, and his full name, when deciphered in gematria, came out to be 2011. It was all like an arrangement of the devil. Just days before his fateful trip to Costa Rica, Malcolm-Jamal Warner suddenly became the center of attention on social media. Not because of a breakthrough role, not because of a sex scandal, but because of a confession that shocked Hollywood. Malcolm, the man who refused to sell his soul. In a candid conversation, Malcolm recounts a moment that few in the industry dare to speak about publicly. He was approached by the most powerful big guys and offered a multi-million-dollar contract. On paper, the terms seemed like heaven: leading roles in blockbuster movies, magazine covers, international trips, and an irreplaceable spot on the Oscar red carpet. But with that came the price of his soul. The role they wanted him to take not only betrayed the professional ideals he had pursued for 3 decades, it also fueled dirty prejudices about the very community he had always protected. Malcolm didn't hesitate, didn't try to haggle over terms, didn't let any false glamour blind him. He said no, clear, decisive, and cold as steel. That decision was not spontaneous. It was shaped by the teachings of his mother, the woman who instilled in him an immutable principle of life. You cannot control whether you will always be on top or not, but you can absolutely decide never to kneel. Malcolm proudly looked back at his body of work, clean and unblemished. He had never had to take on a role that made him ashamed, never turned himself into a tool to hurt the community. Before passing away in July 2025 due to a drowning accident, Malcolm-Jamal Warner had a profound conversation with Melissa Ford, a conversation that later became known as an artist's farewell to the world. His voice was low but resolute. "I will be able to leave this earth knowing that I was a good person. Mr. Cosby gave you immortality, but there's another lane of legacy that I get to leave." In each word there is the pride of a man who has spent more than 3 decades in the arts without ever trading his values. For him, the immortality that Bill Cosby brought through The Cosby Show is only part of his legacy. The rest, more importantly, is the legacy path he chose. A path that does not rely on scandal, does not feed itself on fleeting glory, but on respect, personality, and sustainable contributions. Malcolm knows that he cannot stay at the pinnacle of fame forever, but he believes that when this journey ends, the most valuable thing is not the number of roles or awards, but the answer to a simple question: am I a good person? For Warner, the answer is yes. And that is the greatest victory of all, the one that the spotlight cannot confer, but that time will remember. But there was a dark cloud that Malcolm-Jamal Warner never consciously created, but that quietly hung over his career: the name Bill Cosby. For nearly a decade, The Cosby Show catapulted Warner to A-list stardom, and the character of Theo Huxtable became part of America's cultural legacy. But then, when the Bill Cosby scandal broke, that legacy was instantly tainted with infamy. Even though Warner was completely innocent, the mere fact that his name was associated with Cosby was enough to make the network shy away. They didn't want the risk, didn't want the backlash from viewers, and they didn't want to invest in a face that reminisced about the biggest scandal in American television history. Chappelle put it bluntly: Hollywood doesn't need an indictment or some kind of damning evidence. They just need to stop calling. And it was that silence, no invitation, no script, no mention of names. That was the invisible but most cruel sentence. Warner didn't fall, didn't create drama, and didn't bow to offers that went against his values. It was that principle that made it difficult for Hollywood to sell him to audiences using the familiar formula. And when the Cosby shadow loomed, the system needed only one reason to retreat. Malcolm continues to make art, direct, make music, and win Grammys, but he stays out of the mainstream spotlight. For many artists, that would be a failure. But for Warner, it's a choice that keeps his soul intact. However, in the underground world of power, a word "no" sometimes not only closes the door to a career, but also becomes a one-way ticket leading straight to tragedy. And the irony is, Hollywood has seen a similar story before, but the main character escaped. That person was Dave Chappelle. Dave Chappelle, Ghosts of the Past and Survival Lessons. When Dave Chappelle takes the stage, he's more than just a comedian. At 51, Chappelle is a survivor of years of being in the world's toughest entertainment system. This time he's not telling a joke but laying out a cold truth about Hollywood. And the victim he's referring to is Malcolm-Jamal Warner. Malcolm-Jamal Warner was black excellence personified, talented, intelligent, grounded, and then, poof, gone. Not because he stopped working, but because Hollywood decided he didn't fit the new narrative. Chappelle says this with a tinge of regret and irony. Warner was the legendary Theo Huxtable on The Cosby Show. He had everything fans loved: talent, intelligence, composure. But those were the things that made him disappear from Hollywood. The reason he didn't fit the script the system wanted to create. Chappelle teptuk. He didn't give them drama. In a system that profits off trauma that makes you dangerous, you become unmarketable. That statement was a direct punch to the Hollywood formula. It is a giant industry that lives on drama, feeding audiences with stories of falling and spectacular comebacks. What filmmakers call the redemption arc. A fallen star due to scandal, addiction, or personal scandal will attract the spotlight. And when they rise again, it is a delicious dish for the media. The more tragedy, the easier it is to sell. Malcolm-Jamal Warner broke that formula. He didn't fall, he didn't party, he didn't get arrested, he didn't get into scandal. He kept his private life focused on his art and stayed out of trouble. But in Hollywood's eyes, that made him dangerous, an artist the press couldn't exploit, and therefore hard to sell. Chappelle understands this mechanism because he has lived it. The 2005 escape, $50 million and ghostly terms. In 2005, Dave Chappelle was the king of American comedy. Chappelle's show broke ratings records and huge revenue flowed to Comedy Central. In 2006, Dave Chappelle gave a scathing interview to Oprah Winfrey. It was a rare public moment for him to talk about why he turned down a $50 million deal with Comedy Central. Behind the huge sum, Dave discovered murky terms that he said he could never accept. They wanted to direct the content according to the wishes of high-ups. Dave had to participate in scenes that crossed ethical lines, or accept elements that Dave called against my nature. As Dave began to reveal these dark corners, Oprah repeatedly interrupted. She steered the conversation away and pressed him to admit that he had mental problems. Dave refused to confirm this, but Oprah persisted, especially after he revealed that some Hollywood executives had tried to force him to take antipsychotic drugs, which he believed were used to control or discredit artists. "I've been in this business since I was 14, Dave says bluntly. I've heard and seen stories like Mariah Carey signing a $100 million contract and then 3 months later suddenly going crazy. Or Martin Lawrence punching holes in the wall, running down the street with a gun and screaming, 'They're trying to kill me.'" To him, it's not a coincidence, but a familiar pattern whenever an artist is about to step up to the next level but refuses to yield. Dave understood. If he signed, he would become a golden puppet. Rich, but no longer have the right to decide who he was. And so, in 2005, Dave left the third season of Chappelle's show midway through filming. He disappeared from the studio, left the US, and flew straight to South Africa, without telling anyone, not even his family. Smear campaign: when media becomes a weapon. The sudden disappearance of a star at the peak of his fame is a delicious bait for the media. But instead of finding out the reason, the press and television simultaneously attacked Dave. They called him crazy, addicted, out of control. Talk shows painted him as unstable and helpless. Tabloids repeatedly painted him as a man on the decline. Dave repeatedly said, "I'm not crazy, I don't do drugs. I'm just stressed. Things are overwhelming, but not in the way they say." But his words were drowned out by a wave of fake news, survival lessons, not just saying no. By walking away from a $50 million contract, Dave paid the price of his reputation, his career, and a slew of negative publicity. But he kept what was most precious to him: his life and freedom. Dave understood that in this world, saying no is not enough. If you say no, you have to disappear before they can act. You have to keep quiet, stay out of the spotlight until the storm passes. He lived to tell the tale and warn the next generation. Malcolm never got that chance. 2 men, same choice, same stance. But only one lived to tell the tale while the other remained forever at the bottom of the sea in Costa Rica. The wave of suspicion surrounding Malcolm-Jamal Warner's death had barely subsided. Another account emerged, adding a terrifying piece to the grim picture. This time it came not from a figure from the past like Dave Chappelle, but from a young artist right at the center of the entertainment industry storm, Chloe Bailey. If Malcolm and Dave's story shows the consequences of saying no to the power of the dark ages, Chloe's account is a map of the present. She shows how the game is still being played as coldly and subtly as ever. Warning from an insider: Chloe Bailey, an American singer-songwriter and actress born in 1998, is widely known as one half of the musical duo Chloe x Halle. At a very young age, Chloe has reached the aura that many artists dream of, but behind that splendor are experiences that make her shudder. Chloe said she was once approached with a deal, or rather a contract, to sell her soul. The price for signing that contract was to give up her autonomy to accept being turned into a product of dark hands. In return, the red carpet path would open up, million-dollar music contracts, big movie roles, and the guarantee of appearing on every prestigious stage. Chloe described the experience as similar to the movie Sinners, which she had just seen. In it, the main character possesses extraordinary talent. But to reach the top, he must accept an invitation from vampires' metaphors for the forces operating in the dark. To refuse means accepting a path filled with suffering, isolation, and even death. Real-life vampires. According to Chloe, vampires are not mythical creatures but smiling faces at fancy meetings. They are the bigwigs who have the power to decide the fate of an artist's career. When you reject them, life becomes harsh. Contracts are canceled, projects disappear. Opportunities are stifled, and malicious rumors begin to spread. The images Chloe shares in Sinners are chilling. Those who refuse to be imprisoned are forced to fight to survive, while those who have sold their souls are out there partying, living amid the lights and applause. She says, "I saw myself in that character. And I knew this wasn't just a movie. This was something that happened every day in real life." Vital message. Chloe sends a clear warning. Refusing to negotiate isn't just a moral decision, it's a fight for survival. And like Dave or Malcolm, it requires not just courage, but the fortitude to survive in a game where the rules are constantly being rewritten by those who are stronger. In this world, the spotlight can be a reward, but it can also be a death sentence. Keeping your soul is sometimes the only victory an artist can win, even if it means walking in the dark alone. People with the same fate. If Chloe is a living testament to the hidden power of power, Katt Williams is a chilling reminder of the cost of rejection. The sharp-tongued, outspoken comedian was once the target of a mysterious attack. According to singer Jaguar, Wright, Katt was surprised by armed men breaking into his home one night. It was quick, brutal, and absolutely no trace. No one knows how he survived, and Katt never told. But the consequences were obvious to everyone. From that day on, Katt lived in constant fear. Even when he went to bed, he wore a Kevlar vest which was meant for the battlefield, not the bedroom. Jaguar still remembers clearly, "I will never forget the day they broke into the house. I left and Katt, he was still lying there in his Kevlar vest, in bed, in his own house." The image was more haunting than any warning. It showed that in this world, when you fight the system, even sleep is not safe. And Katt is one of the lucky few who still lives to tell the tale. Unanswered questions and aftermath. Did Malcolm-Jamal Warner really drown? Or was he just another victim in the game of dark forces? Is there a cruel, unwritten rule in the entertainment industry where anyone who dares to say no will pay the price with their career, reputation, and even their life? Dave Chappelle's story, Katt Williams' experience, and Chloe Bailey's chilling warning can't all be coincidences. They're like pieces of a puzzle that little by little paint the shape of a truth that someone is trying to hide. And if what we're hearing is true, then this isn't just a problem for artists. Because if the deep state can stifle the voices of those in the spotlight, what's to stop them from doing the same to anyone who dares to challenge them? If the truth is hidden, it is our duty to dig it up. Even though he has passed away, Malcolm-Jamal Warner will forever be in the hearts of his fans. Let's take a look back at Theo Huxtable's life journey. Malcolm-Jamal Warner, from Harlem boy to black cultural icon. On August 18, 1970, in Jersey City, New Jersey, a boy was born with a name that was a combination of two icons, Malcolm X, the legendary civil rights activist, and Ahmad Jamal, the outstanding jazz artist. That name was like a prophecy. Malcolm-Jamal Warner was born to both break the mold and breathe life into art. However, family tragedy struck when his parents separated when he was young. It was Pamela Warner, a single mother, who became his first launching pad. Not only was she a spiritual support, she was also the one who managed, trained, and protected the boy from the pitfalls of showbiz right from his first steps. Malcolm has been involved in acting since he was 9 years old. He studied at an art school in New York and quickly became an unforgettable face on American television. Huxtable Boy and the Bright Spotlight. In 1984, at the age of 14, Malcolm suddenly became famous when he played Theo Huxtable in the popular sitcom The Cosby Show. The film became a cultural phenomenon, earning him an Emmy nomination in 1986. In the eyes of America, Malcolm was not only a witty boy on screen, but also a role model for intelligent, warm-hearted black youth. But the spotlight never dazzled him. After The Cosby Show, Malcolm tried to escape Theo's shadow. He starred in Malcolm and Eddie Suits, The Resident Grownish 911, and was not afraid to try his hand at directing and producing. In 2015, he won a Grammy for the song Jesus Children. In 2023, his album Spoken Word was nominated for a Grammy, proving that Malcolm's talent spans both film and music. Malcolm is a man of principle. Malcolm is known for being a difficult person in the eyes of Hollywood producers. He flatly refused roles that denigrated the black community, despite huge salaries. He once said, "I am proud that I have never had to take on a role that made me embarrassed in front of the community." That principle stems from his mother, who taught him that art is only valuable when it lifts people up, not drags them down. So Malcolm's career, though quiet, has always been absolutely respected. Private life, love, and loss. Malcolm has never spoken publicly about his family. In 2017, he married and had a daughter whose identity he has kept private. Before that, he was deeply in love with Michelle Thomas, his co-star on The Cosby Show. In 1998, Michelle died of cancer, and Malcolm was by her side until the end. That relationship, friends say, left an irreplaceable void in him. He was also in a long-term relationship with actress Karen Molina White and dated Regina King. But no matter who he was with, Malcolm kept his principles and did not make his personal life a tabloid headline. Assets and legacies. From the limelight to lasting values. Over his 4 decades in the spotlight, Malcolm-Jamal Warner has built an estimated fortune of $6 million to $14 million, not only from his film, television, and music earnings, but also from his valuable real estate in Los Angeles and New Jersey, where he has both childhood and family memories. But for Malcolm, money was never the ultimate goal. Money can be spent, fame can fade, but what you leave in people's hearts is what lasts forever, he once said. And he left behind a clean, unblemished artistic legacy that even the most powerful people could not buy. Shortly after his death, his mother Pamela Warner established the Malcolm-Jamal Warner Living Legacy Foundation. The foundation is not simply a charity, but a continuation of Malcolm's mission. First, to support young artists, especially artists of color, so that they have the opportunity to shine without compromising their principles. Second, to bring art to schools and communities, inspiring a new generation. Third, to protect and honor Black culture so that the history and voice of the community are not forgotten. Outside of his art, Malcolm is also a community man. He campaigns against racial bias on screen, raises money for disadvantaged children, and supports mental health programs. Especially after his ex-girlfriend Michelle Thomas passed away from cancer. All of these things paint the image of a man of principles, compassionate and steadfast in his chosen path. So when the news of his sudden passing in Costa Rica was announced, the public was not only shocked, but also began to ask questions. An artist without scandal, a person devoted to the community, a clean body of work. Why did he leave under such questionable circumstances? Perhaps the price of saying no to the hands in the dark is sometimes your life. As for Dave Chappelle, after making the $50 million getaway, he came back more determined with a completely different demeanor. Dave Chappelle. From the $50 million vanisher to the icon of the freelance artist who refused to be subdued by Hollywood. After his famous escape, Chappelle left the US for South Africa to find peace of mind. The sudden decision not only shocked the audience but also opened a wave of chaotic speculation from the media. Some said he had a mental breakdown, others claimed he was involved in drugs. Chappelle remained silent about it all, letting the fabricated stories spread. When he returned to the United States, he did not seek Hollywood, but instead turned to the small town of Yellow Springs, Ohio. In this place of just over 3,000 residents, Chappelle bought a large farm and lived a private life with his wife and 3 children. He completely avoided the noisy whirlwind of the entertainment industry. He only appeared in public occasionally, but each time he did, he attracted attention. Not only in hiding, Chappelle also created his own creative spaces. He bought an old fire station and turned it into a comedy club where artists can perform intimately without commercial pressure. An old garage was converted into the Shack, a space to record podcasts and test new ideas. During the COVID-19 period, Chappelle organized a series of outdoor programs called Chappelle's Summer Camp. The program attracted a series of comedians and artists such as Jon Stewart, Chris Rock, Lewis, C.K. John Mayer. Not only did it bring laughter during the pandemic, this event also contributed about $9 million to the local economy. Despite his long life away from Hollywood, Chappelle has never really left the stage. He has made rare but impressive returns, hosting Saturday Night Live in 2016-2020, and most recently in 2025. He delivers sharp satirical monologues that strike at hot-button social and political issues. Dave has always been controversial. But Netflix has also become a major platform for his work. The Closer 2021 and The Dreamer 2023 have been praised for their intelligence and criticized for touching on sensitive issues, especially the LGBTQ+ community. Despite the controversy, Chappelle has still achieved many successes, including a series of Grammy Awards for comedy albums from 2018 to 2025. He also directed and appeared in the documentary Dave Chappelle Live in Real Life, which chronicles his performances during the pandemic. Although it was not widely released due to public pressure, the film has been screened at many film festivals. In 2025, Chappelle accepted the President's Award at the NAACP Image Awards, using his speech to call for community unity and resilience in the face of pressure. He also declined the honor of naming a theater at his former school because he didn't want to cause division after the controversy surrounding the closer, but he continued to quietly contribute to the school and community projects. Chappelle has become increasingly vocal about his political views. He publicly campaigned for Andrew Yang in the 2020 election. He has consistently expressed his views on hot-button issues such as the Gaza conflict, human rights, and social injustice. On any stage, Chappelle remains true to himself, straightforward, unabashed, and always ready to accept any controversy to defend what he believes is right. Malcolm-Jamal Warner has left this world, ending the journey of a rare artist who dared to say no to the halo in exchange for his soul. Now, Dave Chappelle's story is not simply a shocking revelation, but a farewell, a recognition for a colleague who chose a path few dare to take. In an industry that is always hungry for drama and failure as material for a comeback, Malcolm chose peace. He did not let himself become a product in the hands of Hollywood, did not betray his ideals to stay at the center of the stage. That choice may have made him forgotten in the eyes of the profession, but in the hearts of those who understood him, it was a victory of personality. Now that his name is no longer on the glowing billboards, what remains are the memories of a sincere look, a warm laugh, and an example of integrity. Hollywood may have turned its back on him, but those who loved him will forever remember, because Malcolm's greatest legacy was the man he was.